Hey, here we are. And we're going to cut another edition of Grace Moments real quick here. And for those of you who remember and those of you who know what grace moments are, grace moments is simply those times and those moments in your life when you know if it weren't for the grace of God, that situation, that moment, you may not have come through it. You know those grace moments when they happen because we have that old adage that says, but by the grace of God, there go I. But for the grace of God, there go I. It could have been me. That could have been me, but by grace. And thank God for grace and the grace of God. Some people call it luck, especially people who don't necessarily believe in God or believe that, you know what I mean, that grace and the grace of God really exist from the creator, from our source. Grace is a thing. So they tend to say, I was lucky, you see, but truly that's grace. So we have grace moments, and that's what we're going to talk about here. I'm going to come back at you, cut various tapes and come back at you. This is, by the way, Spiritual Pathways, the journey. I am Miam A.T. Coleman. And once again, for those of you who remember when we were on Blog Talk Radio, a few years back on Blog Talk Radio, our program was Spiritual Pathways, the journey. And we talked about grace and grace personified, grace as all things, grace in the manner in which God has given me understanding for grace. So I'm back and we have grace moments, and that's what this is. So I want you to think for a moment, just think quick for a quick minute about a few grace moments and moments that you know that it was truly grace. And I'm going to share one or two with you here of grace moments for me, the me I am. Listen to this. I'm in Germany, in West Germany, and it's 1980. You see, my son wasn't born yet, so it was 1985. 1985, God's grace again, that number five. 1985. I'm on my way to a performance, and I've got my drums in the car. I've got all of my other assorted, equipment. As a percussionist, I tend to not only have my congas and my bongos, but I've got all kinds of cymbals, drumsticks, and cowbells, and whistles, and maracas, and all kinds of other percussion instruments, and all that's in the car with me as I'm flying down the German Autobahn to get to this performance. I pull off the German Autobahn and hit one of the back roads, and I start picking up speed. As I'm going down the back road, I hit some black ice, and I hit that black ice, and the car flipped. The car left the road and flipped. I don't even remember how many times. It had to be at least 6, 7 times. It flipped in the air and then hit and bounced and hit down around and bounced around and then landed upside down in a ravine, in one of those ravines where the water was running through. But anyway, so because I'm upside down, I'm able to take my foot and push down on the sunroof and kick that out enough, just enough for me to squeeze my body out down through the sunroof into the ravine and come up out of the car. Now, at that time, by that time, some German citizens had gathered, and in German, they're all astonished and asking, how did you ever survive that? Because when I look back at the car, and everybody from that point all the way to when I got the car back to my place, back to my apartment, well, my housing where I was at in Pattonville, Germany, the military housing, everybody in the military housing development, as well as all the Germans on the side of the road and the guy that came with the tow truck, everybody said I never, ever, never should have gotten out of that car. That's one of the moments of grace. Only by grace, only because of the grace of God, only by the grace of God did I survive that, did I come out of that. And I want you to know something else. Not only did I survive that car accident, but with all my stuff flying around in the car, not one scratch, not one scratch, not one bruise, not one scratch. And I went on from there to drive the car. Now, this is another good part of it. I got I got the car uprighted by this German tow truck that came in anyway. He pulled the car out of the ravine and got it on its wheels. I got in, the thing started, and I put and sputtered and put and sputtered all the way to the event where I was performing. I performed there that night. Then got in my car and put and sputtered and put and sputtered all the way back to the military housing development where I lived. True story. The grace of God. That honestly is part of why they call me the grace preacher. That is part of why you hear me speak so much about grace, because that is common in my story, and I'm sticking to it. That's common for me to have grace moments because I know who I'm is, and I know that I'm is grace. There's no question about it. I'm is grace. And so because I know that, I can give you many, 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 many grace stories because it's my entire life. My entire life. The five is alive. Make no mistake about it. So I hope you thought of maybe some grace stories, some grace moments, because those would be stories in your life, some grace moments. But when you think about the grace moments, I want you to think about this. Because God, source energy, creator, Alpha and Omega, Prana, big guy in the sky, Allah, Buddha, Krishna, Jah, Jehovah, Ra, Imhotep, Thought. Okay, you get the drift. Because, and I prefer the name God. I prefer God in instances, but I also know the name as I am. Because of my understanding of how grace is made flesh, how grace is personified, that personage, that persona, because I understand grace as the human being on earth, grace, because I know grace is the I am God being manifestation, being manifested as the human grace on earth, grace, because the five is alive. The five of grace is alive. That's why you are alive. We are alive. Us, they, and them, we be alive. It's grace. That five. Human, five letters. I'm going to show you the five of grace in you as the human being. Human, five letters. Being, five letters. Grace, five letters. On earth, five letters. Grace, personified. Grace, manifested. You, the human that is grace, you have five senses: sight, taste, touch, hearing, and smell. You have one set of eyes, one nose, one mouth, two ears. You have five brain waves. Your biology is made up of the same five elements that compose all of the solar system that we are a part of. Need I go on? Certainly, I will. You have five fingers on each hand. You have five toes on each foot. You have two arms, two legs, and one torso. You are the five alive, the grace of God manifested in form. How many letters is form? You are robed in as mankind, as the spirit of God, the creation, mankind, the spirit that is God in form, mankind. You are housed, robed, clothed in what? Flesh. How many letters are in the word flesh? And you come by your flesh by what? Birth. How many letters are in the word birth? The five is alive as who and what we be as us folk, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of what we call race, creed, and color. We the children of the Most High source. We have been created in the image and likeness of that source, pure spirit. That's who we are. We are having our fun experience being human. We're having fun being human. We are that which is the I am God that I am. That's who I'm is, having fun being human. That's who we be. That's who I'm is. That's who I am is. When you hear me say I'm is, what I'm saying is I am is. But you also know when I say I'm is, that's an affirmation of the me I am. And every time I affirm my God by speaking God's name, when I say I am, I affirm that God is, you see, as that God spoke to Moses, grace, 5 letters, and said, I am is my name and shall be a testament and testimony unto my people, my children for all eternity. Well, who is that? That's you and me and they and them and us. Us. Us, humanity. Us, the humans. Us, grace. Us, mankind, being human. The human being. You like that? Yeah, I thought that was cool too. When God laid that on me, what, look, which way should I turn? See? Oh, there it is. Lean this way and point that way. That. Yeah. And see it down the bottom and back of me? Mankind was created. Hmm? And then if you know, let me go this way. Yeah. Mankind was created. Human beings were formed. See that? Human beings were formed. That's in Genesis 2:7. Okay. Mankind, you and me, we were created. Okay. Understand that? We were created. See that? In Genesis 1:27. So when you read that, understand it's right there. What I'm telling you about the fact that we as humans, we are being grace, we are manifested grace, we are that which is the being human, being grace, that being God, I am, see, mankind. We are being human. We are being God's grace made manifest as the human. Grace. I bid you a fond adieu until the very next time, you see. And I'll be back. I got some more. And we're going to do some more of the moments of grace, grace moments. And think about it until the next time we talk. Think about grace moments. And as they happen, acknowledge them. Let me say that before I go. Start to acknowledge grace moments when they happen. When you see things happen and you know it's like, only by the grace of God could that have happened. Only by God's grace could that have occurred. Only by God's grace did I come through that to be here. Only by grace. When you see those moments in your life now, acknowledge them. Do that. It'll go a long way to your understanding. Remember that we're taught in all thy getting, get an understanding. And that will help you go a long way towards the understanding of who you are as mankind, being human.